Hello, thank you for joining with me. We are reading in A Course in Miracles, complete and annotated edition. This is part 2 of the workbook for students, lesson 238. On my decision, all salvation rests. Father, your trust in me has been so great. I must be worthy. You created me and know me as I am, and yet you placed your Son's salvation in my hands and let it rest on my decision. I must be beloved of you indeed, and I must be steadfast in holiness as well, that you would give your Son to me in certainty that he is safe who still is part of you, and yet is mine because he is myself. And so again today we pause to think how much our Father loves us, and how dear his Son, created by his love, remains to him whose love is made complete in him. And now I will read the commentary by Alan Watson and Robert Perry. On my decision, all salvation rests. This is a practice and suggestion by Robert Perry. I suggest making this line more specific from time to time today. Pick someone you are with, or someone with whom you feel irritated, or someone who needs you, and insert that person's name. On my decision, blank's salvation rests. Commentary by Alan Watson. In lesson 236, I saw that I alone rule my mind. God has created me free to choose to listen to his voice or not to listen. Salvation thus rests entirely on my decision. The message of today's lesson is that if this is true, God must have a great deal of trust in me. As humankind is typically pictured, it is weak, vacillating, or downright rebellious, sinners at the core, and totally untrustworthy. But if God placed his Son's salvation in my hands and let it rest on my decision, that dark picture cannot be the truth. If I were such an untrustworthy being, if humankind were so unreliable, God would never have put such enormous trust in us. Therefore, I must be worthy, I must be beloved of you indeed, and I must be steadfast in holiness as well. In sum, if God trusts me, I must be worthy of that trust. It isn't just my own salvation that rests on my decision. All salvation rests on it, because the sonship is one. If one part remains separate and alone, the sonship is incomplete. Yet God gave his Son to me in certainty that he is safe. If God is certain that the Son is safe in my hands, he must know something about me that I have forgotten. He knows me as I am, and not as I have come to believe I am. The trust he displays is amazing, because the Son is not simply his creation. The Son is still part of him. God has entrusted part of his very being to my care, in confidence of what my decision will be, to freely, willingly choose to join with him and enter into his love and his will. He knows that in the end I will not choose otherwise, and cannot choose otherwise, for he formed me as an extension of his own love. Let me then today reflect often on how much God loves me, how much he loves his Son, and how much God's love for his Son is demonstrated by entrusting all salvation to my decision. Let me rest assured that the outcome is as inevitable as God. Let me take confidence in God's confidence in me. If you'll please close your eyes, I'll lead you into the meditation. Lesson 238. On my decision, all salvation rests. Father, your trust in me has been so great, I must be worthy. You created me and know me as I am, and yet you placed your Son's salvation in my hands and let it rest on my decision. I must be beloved of you indeed, and I must be steadfast in holiness as well, that you would give your Son to me in certainty that he is safe who is still part of you, and yet is mine because he is myself. On my decision, all salvation rests. joining with me in this meditation. And now we pick up on what is salvation. Please read this section or listen to the YouTube video on what is salvation at least once a day while we are moving through this section. We are on paragraph 4, where you will read sentences 2 through 5. Here we share our final dream. It is a dream in which there is no sorrow, for it holds a hint of all the glory given us by God. The grass is pushing through the soil. The trees are budding now, and birds have come to live within their branches. Earth is being born again in new perception. And we'll go ahead and pause there and read the commentary by Alan Watson. When we come daily to this holy place, we catch glimpses of the real world, our final dream. In the holy instant, we see with the vision of Christ in which there is no sorrow. We are allowed to see a hint of all the glory given us by God. The goal of the course for us is to come to the place where we carry this vision with us always, where our minds are so transformed that we see nothing but the real world and live a life that is one continuous holy instant. That time may seem far off to me, but it is much nearer than I believe, and in the holy instant I experience it as now. It is by repeatedly coming to the holy instant, repeatedly immersing our minds in the vision of the real world, that this world becomes the only reality to us, the final dream before we waken. In this happy dream, earth is being born again in new perspective. The images of grass pushing through the soil, trees budding, and birds coming to live in their branches speak to us of springtime, of a rebirth after a long winter. The images stand for the new perception we have of the world in which our spiritual night is gone, and all living things stand together in the light of God. We look past illusions now, past what has always seemed like solid reality to us, and see something more firm and sure beyond them, a vision of everlasting holiness and peace. We see and hear the need of every heart, the call of every mind, the hope that lies beyond despair, the love attack would hide, the brotherhood that hate has sought to sever, but which still remains as God created it. Here, in the vision of the real world, we hear the calls that echo past each seeming call to death, that sings behind each murderous attack and pleads that love restore the dying world. We see that the only purpose of this world is forgiveness. How lovely is the world whose purpose is forgiveness of God's Son. How beautiful it is to walk clean and redeemed and happy through a world in bitter need of redemption that your innocence bestows upon it. Thank you so much for joining with me in Lesson 238. On my decision, all salvation rests. Thank you. I love you.